That's fun. Hello, everybody, people, gentlemen, ladies, everybody, all people. Welcome to the final live show of the Long Price Quartet. I'm really excited for this. And I'm joined here by Katrina and Adrian. Alan might be a little late because he wasn't feeling too good at the time. So we'll see if he happens to pop in. Do you guys want to introduce your channels?
Sure. Well, I actually don't have a channel, but my name is Katrina and I am on Instagram. I have a bookstagram called The Diary of a Book Nerd. I read fantasy, sci-fi, some contemporary classics, a little of everything. However, lately I've been leaning more into adult fantasy.
Great. And I'm Adrian. My channel is All booked up. I read not exclusively, but largely fantasy, largely adult fantasy. A little bit of sci-fi here and there. So that's my sort of wheelhouse. And I actually, just to put out there, I read this Price of Spring in February. So I've had a little look through again, but it's been a little while. So yeah, we'll see how we feel about it.
It's been a while for me too. I was looking through last night, flipping through.
Yeah, I had to do a little flip through because I think it's been almost 2 months for me as well now. We just got down to scheduling recently, but I've been excited to talk about it. For those of you, first of all, thank you for joining me. I appreciate everybody coming on and saying hi and being willing to talk about this amazing series, including our fourth guest, Mr. Allen from the Library of Alexandria.
What up? Excuse me, what up?
Would you like to introduce yourself, sir?
Oh, I'm Alan from the Library of Alexandria. I am the first person in history to read the Long Price Quartet. And then I told everybody about it.
Okay.
I have no idea where I heard about the Long Price Quartet. None. I think when I first started BookTube, I was doing like a search for military fantasy or something like that. I was searching for something and I found that. And then I was like, I still don't know why I read it. I don't know. I have no idea why I chose to read it. Like none. Maybe it was Asian inspired. I don't remember, guys. I don't remember the characters of the book that I read at the beginning of the month.
Alan, blame Reddit. Blame Reddit. I saw it on Reddit and it went on my TBR, but then I didn't read it until you wouldn't shut up about it. So
there you go. Mm-hmm. That's right. Still not shutting up about it. Never.
I feel that same. I feel like this needs to more people need to produce content on this.
I agree. I mean, do we really need another video talking about Stormlight or First Law or
Dune?
Yes. I mean, as someone who will be producing some of those videos now.
I mean, me too. But it's just like being a booktuber right now. I mean, out in the cold, like I haven't read Dune, haven't seen Dune, haven't read Wheel of Time, not gonna watch Wheel of Time. So it's just like you can do what you want. Like I can make some really super, I don't know, avant-garde content because no one's watching currently. So
Angela's asking why you're going after First Law.
I'm not.
Because he woke up today and chose violence.
That's not true. I woke up today and chose sickness, apparently. No, I should have a headache. I'm not going after First Law. I'm just saying there's a lot of First Law content right now. Just like there's a lot of Dune content, a lot of Wheel of Time content right now.
Yeah, I know. I mean, Abby's video is doing amazing. I mean, view-wise.
She didn't pull that thing?
No. She's like, it's like at 5-6K views right now.
Whatever. Get that ad money. Take that money to the bank, Abby.
So.
Seriously, disable comments and let it run.
Basically. All right. So, Long Price Quartet. If you were watching this and you have no idea why it came across your dash, maybe you're some financial dude that's like, oh, prices, there's prices in the title. I'm going to go watch this and see what this is. Well, this is about a fantasy book, so you should read the book. But Long Price Quartet, written by Daniel Abraham. This is book 4 of 4. This is the end, the final one, the mind-blowing, oh my gosh, what's happening? Emphasis on long price book. This wraps up the series. If you want to go buy it, I'm going to try to have links, a lot of links in the description for a bunch of different things. You're probably not going to be able to find this bind up.
It's out of print.
Blame this dude.
Like
In the UK, you can get these ones.
I am certain it's a coincidence. I'm certain it's a coincidence, but
I'm not so sure.
you can get the 2-book bind-ups on Amazon or eBay pretty cheap. You can get any of the books cheap except Price of Spring. Price of Spring was never released in paperback because of a disagreement with the publisher, from what I understand. And so they never released it in paperback. And so it had like one run, I guess. And so you have to get Price of Spring in hardback. So it's cheaper generally to just buy those two. You can't see what I'm doing with my mouse, but I'm circling the cursor around Adrian's books, the Shadow of Betrayal and Price of War or whatever.
Yeah, those are the ones that seem to be in stock almost everywhere I've looked.
Yeah.
I've not seen that 4-book bind up in the UK very commonly, so I think the 2-book bind ups are much more available over here.
Which is weird because that 4-book bind up when I bought it, $17. That's it.
Oh, yeah, same.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
This goes to show you need to be an Allen early adopter.
Follow Schrodinger's hipster into the abyss.
That's right. That's right. Did you see that someone freaking in a random comment about a food channel or something, or it's like a restaurant, in the comments of a restaurant's Facebook page, someone that some person who follows me on Instagram sent me a picture. Someone had used my everyone hates hipsters GIF randomly, just like unconnected to BookTube.
Brilliant.
You're
becoming mainstream, Alan.
One day, my teenagers are gonna, they're gonna know me only from my GIFs. They're gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, is this guy in those GIFs?" Like they're gonna start a new class and be like, "This is the guy from the GIFs." I hope that's our takeover.
Your sign up for Latin is going to go through the roof, Alan.
I don't want that. I want fewer people to sign up for Latin.
It's going to be like Brandon Sanderson's writing class where they only have everything open, signups open for like 1 hour.
That is what I want. I do not want more people to take Latin. Anyway, we should talk about Long Price Quartet.
Yeah, we should talk about Price of Spring. So, Price of Spring, book 4. Do we want to start with, I guess, a little bit of non-spoiler, I guess? Maybe just a little bit. Did you guys have expectations going into this book? Like what it was going to be about or anything?
I think for me, I'm assuming we can be a little bit spoilery for the previous books.
I mean,
yes.
Yeah.
Full spoilers for the first 2 books.
Yeah, cool. I feel like it's set it up pretty clear. Like it's very much an aftermath book, isn't it? Like it's, oh my days, what the heck just happened? Yeah. And obviously dealing with the aftermath of that is going to be the main thing. I think it surprised me a little bit how much it felt like it was not boiled down, but like it was very around our 2 main characters. Like obviously there was big world-changing events going on around them, but actually I liked how intimate it felt with our 2 main characters.
Yeah.
And I found that really interesting, a nice take on it.
It was very contained compared to other fantasy books, I guess you can say. And that just kind of goes along with the idea that he really doesn't need a lot of time to construct a really good story. Mm-hmm. He says everything he needs to say in few words, but the few words that he uses are amazing and very thought-provoking. And the characters that we see, you don't need a huge cast of characters because he does so much with the ones that he gives us.
Yeah. I like how he went in, I think from Price of Spring. I think it should be the first book, but the the order of the books, the seasons in these books are just messes me up all the time. Shadow of Summer was, I think, definitely the characters and the point of viewpoints were definitely a little bit more spread out. And then like as the books went on, I felt like he like condensed it a little bit more in each book.
Yeah, the fact that the entire trilogy, the entire quartet is slightly longer than what Oathbringer, like it's just is ridiculous. I think Shadow and Summer, the characters are at their least interesting because they are teenagers, and teenagers are, teenagers. And I just think the growth of these characters over the, 50 years of their life that they know each other, 50, 60 years, it's just brilliant. Like, I think the time skips are perfect because they mature in ways and stay the same in some ways. Mati in Price of Spring is the same. Literally, it's 50 years later. He's the same little boy he was at the beginning of Shadow and Summer, while also, having all of this extra experience and weight and, a little cruelty in him that he didn't have when he didn't have the cynicism and bitterness that he had in Shadow and Summer. But he's still, he's still that little kid who was crying when Ota shoved dirt in his mouth because he couldn't get it done. And it's just so good. I mean, I don't know what I was expecting. I mean, I was expecting them to wrap up the whole, to deal with the consequences of Sterile from Autumn War. And I think Abraham did it. Like there's nothing about Price of Spring that I don't like. Like, I don't disagree with a single choice that he made in Price of Spring. Like, I don't think I liked all of them, but I don't disagree with it. I think it was the right choice, even if I'm like,
right.
It's just really good. And it's hard to separate autumn and spring because they really are kind of like, the beginning and the end of a singular like thing. Just the consequences are so much larger in those two than they were in 1 and 2, but everything is fed by 1 and 2. Like what we find about the reason that Ota cares so much about what's going on, because of one decision that was made in Shadow and Summer. The fact that it has to matter. Like, he's been living with just that weight, and if all of this is for nothing, then that was all for nothing. And some brilliant lines, heartbreaking lines. Yeah, just good stuff. And then of course the end is fantastic. Coda.
He's being a pain in the butt.
Hey, dogs do well with the algorithm, so we're fine.
Yeah.
Alan, you're saying about the ramifications of Shadow and Summer. I remember when I first finished the series, I was talking to you on Discord, and like one of my big things was how amazingly well Daniel Abraham fed in the end of Shadow and Summer, and how that has affected Ota in another 50 years time, 60 years time, like how that has ingrained itself in everything he does, that he's done this thing, and if that's what he's done, if that's the price it cost, then this is why it's so important that they sort out what's happening with the Galts. It's so good.
And you can look back and see that is why Ota has made the decisions that he's made in books 2 and 3, is because he has to make that decision from Summer matter. Like, it has to.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so good.
I like how this series as a general doesn't stop like at the top. So like, I feel like in any other series, the end of Autumn War could have been the end. Mm-hmm. If you look at, I guess, like a traditional fantasy structure, it's like you'll have the hero, rising action, they kill the bad guy, and then everything's fine and happy-go-lucky ever after, or bad things happen, and then just like scene. The I think it's pronounced denouement or whatever. I'm getting more into structure. Denouement.
I say denouement, and then someone's always like, it's denouement.
What about Danu Dad? Where's the Danu Dad in
No,
the picture?
it's French. Where French doesn't pronounce consonants, you should ignore all consonants are silent except for the first
Yeah.
one.
Yes.
They're just vowels.
Look at the word. Take out all the consonants.
Except the first
Squint.
one. You use the first consonant.
Yes,
you
the
remove
first
all
consonant.
subsequent ones.
Move all the subsequent ones.
Mm-hmm. So denouement.
Squint. And then pronounce what you think you see.
French sounds like you're talking with soup in your mouth. I just insulted all your French viewers. I apologize.
I don't know if I have any.
Parlez-vous français? Joanna Stormblast. Sorry, Joanna.
I thought she was in.
She's in Luxembourg.
Luxembourg.
She can
Does
speak
she
French.
speak French also?
Abby speaks a little too.
Anyway, I agree that he could have left it alone, left it ambiguous, because I think it was dangerous to tackle the consequences of steroid.
Oh.
And I think the entire story could have been damaged by the poor handling of Price of Spring. So it was a risk for sure, because he could have left it, and he could have left it ambiguous, and we could have wondered what was going to happen, forever. And that would be preferable to it having been botched, but it wasn't botched.
Mm-mm.
And I just thought that Abraham, it's just fantastic. Like, I'm so excited for him to be back flying solo with Age of Ash in February.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping he has plotted the entire thing, just like it's very obvious he did with the Long Press Quartet and Dagger and Coin, because the first book of Dagger and Coin, I feel about the same as I did with Shadow and Summer, where I'm like, I guess, but it's definitely going somewhere. And so, I'm hoping that series is just as good.
Well, while I agree with you that he could have just left it after Autumn War, I cannot imagine this series without the ending of Price of Spring. Like those last two couple of chapters, that epilogue, that is some of the most beautiful writing I have read in fantasy.
It's so
possibly ever. Like, it's just written so incredibly well, and
so
a lot like you said, for a series that's fractionally longer than Oathbringer, I think, as you said, to get so much. I'm a bit like, sometimes I worry I'm a sociopath. Like, I don't really feel emotions very strongly, but this series really really got me. Really got me.
Because he's remarkable at writing emotions, first of all, believable emotions, and his character interactions are some of the best I've read. I love his character interactions. I could just read a whole book of characters talking if he wrote it, and I would be absolutely fine.
He is absolutely. It's absolutely a strong point. Like, these characters, they are so human in that they never feel like they are removed from us. They make decisions, like bad decisions, that aren't plot decisions. They're people who are trying their best, but are flawed decisions. Even Mati, Mati is such a fascinating character because he is just so tragic. And I personally understand every single decision Mati makes, and it just reminds me of how fragile our egos can be, and it reminds me of bad decisions that I've made in my past, and I'm just embarrassed because it's like, I know how Mati feels. Like, Mati in this book is trying to right the wrongs. Like, he's trying to fix what he broke, when in the last book he was just trying to be the hero. He's trying to get out from Ota's shadow. This book, more than any other, I feel like Mati is Burr to Ota's Hamilton, where everything they do, Ota succeeds, and it's just always overshadows Mati. And Mati is a less, hostile Burr, but I just feel so bad for him. Like, he just wants to matter. Let's struggle for significance, and he doesn't. Because he never, as we saw in War, he never should have been a poet, ever. He should have been kicked out of the school. But Ota, broke the rules.
It's that thing as well, that it is a struggle for significance. And then in this book, in Price of Spring, it doesn't even. It is still that, but it's that, but also just trying to fix his mistake. Like, he's trying so hard to redeem himself from a basically irredeemable situation, and it only gets worse.
Yeah.
Only gets worse.
Oh, it's past the struggle for significance. That culminated in war. And now it's just like, well, the best I can do, at least I can fix this. You know, you can't, Monty. You can't. And so it's just really good.
Yeah. So you guys want to head into some spoiler territory now?
Can't
And
really
just
talk about it without spoilers.
go on.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk some spoilers. Favorite characters, favorite arcs. What?
My favorite character is Monty because he's just interesting. I don't like him the best, but he is my favorite. I'll leave one character to Katrina.
Thank you.
But I like that character also a lot. And I love Ota. Like the relationship between Ota and Mati it's so good. The way it starts in summer and culminates in spring. I love it. Like it's so good. And one of my favorite tropes of all time is the corruption arc, is the guy who goes from protagonist to antagonist over the course of a series, not in a single book, but like over the course of the series. That happens shockingly in one of the Forgotten Realms series, like, and you know, stuff like that doesn't really happen in D&D books. They're usually super formulaic. And that was, I think, the first time I had seen that, and I loved it, and I've loved it ever since then. And so I like that Monty is the antagonist in this one, but he's not a bad guy. He just is being an idiot. Like he just is. He cannot learn from his mistakes. He can't learn from his mistakes, and so Von Jeet is terrifying. A woman who wants something more than anything else, and Monty's learned nothing from Sterile. Like. The Ondat capitalize on these human frailties. What are you doing, Monty? So Von Jeet she's so, you think that the fact that the Galts killed her parents isn't going to affect her summoning of the Ondat, you moron? Oh my gosh, what a freaking rube. So Von Jeet is terrifying. Blindness, is that his name? Blindness? Clarity of sight is terrifying. Like that demon baby is terrifying. And then
so creepy.
They just at the end, like the arcs, Ota having literally no faith in Mati. When he is writing to Kian, who's dead, at the end, and is saying, I am sending the least reliable man in the world to fix this. Like that, it broke my heart so much because they were such friends. And he just like is literally acknowledging this. I cannot count on him except to fail. Like that is what I can count on him for. And he tells someone like Aya or somebody, he's like, I would send a stranger before I would send Mati. And it just hurts my heart because they were brothers, you know, like Mati was a brother more than Donat or any of his other brothers were, you know, and here he has. Their relationship is just so complex, and it's not about forgiveness, as they say. They have that conversation. Like, he's like, I don't know, Mati. He's like, I don't know. Like, what our relationship is so freaking like, who knows? Let's just get through this crisis and we'll see, you know. And then he does that one thing for him at the end when he's like, "What are you coming to gloat?" He's like, "No, just look. Like, you know, you're gonna die and whatever. Just at least look at the city. Like, remember the times that we had. Like, this is what we did it for." And it's just, I just got chills. Like, it's so amazing. It's so amazing. So their arc, their relationship, Ota's letters to his wife, are just, you know, I don't want to take all the good stuff, but
so heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's just, so Ota and Mati's thing is my absolute favorite. It just hurts. It hurts me so much that they, you know, that's where it ended up. It's fantastic.
Hey.
So I agree with what Alan has said. I loved watching Ota and Mati's friendship throughout the series. But as Angela is screaming in the comment section, Idan takes the show for us and me. I love Idan so much because her character arc is so intertwined in society, the complexities of the society that Abraham has created, and the way that women are treated in this society. And jumping back to Betrayal in Winter real quick, that was when I realized how well Abraham wrote emotion and rage and anger. And then seeing her character arc and how far she's come in this book, oh my gosh, I was flipping through because I tabbed my omnibus, and I was flipping through and I ended up reading the last 3 chapters of Praise of Spring last night, just so that I could read it again because it's amazing. And I love how Inidon.
I agree, Angela.
What did she say? Yes, I agree.
She's so good. She's so complex, and her
So complex.
redemption arc, as opposed to Mati's corruption arc, is just like Idon is.
They go in opposite directions.
Yeah, Idon learns from her mistakes, where Mati does not. Mati's the double downer, like double down, triple down. He's like, eventually, if you keep gambling, you'll eventually make your money back. Just keep throwing the money at the table. You'll eventually win your money back. Law of averages.
He is gambler's fallacy personified.
Yeah. Also with Idon, you get a realistic look at a female, just not character, but a human being. Because how often in fantasy do you see a woman who is like, you know what? I'd rather you leave me sterile. Take it back. I don't want you to heal me. Yeah. And that, compared to the way society treats women in this book and the worth that their worth is based on being able to bear children. And she kind of works against that. She swims upriver a lot in this series, and she's strong, and I love her for that.
Yeah, Idon's struggle against, like, just the female characters in this book in general. And it always makes me sad when people they read Summer, and then they don't want to read past it, and they trash Liat, because Liat is super annoying in Summer. I agree, but she's a teenager. She acts exactly like my students. She's freaking annoying.
But you also get Amat in the first book, so you know that he can write a female character.
Yeah, but Liat is louder, and so
that's true.
She's more annoying. But just like Idon and Liat in Autumn, and then I already said Kian. Yeah, and Anna in this book.
I love her too.
Like even Von Jeet. Even Von Jeet is just so well written. She I get it. Like I get her rage. I do. They're brilliant. And then again, written by a guy, like written by a dude, is even more impressive. But yeah, Idon is struggling against that system. She has all the rage of youth, and then once she's exiled, matures and grieves for her inability to be able to bear children, and makes her peace with it. And she, in the right way, unlike Mati, tries to right the wrongs of the past by, doing good, or the best she can. She's fantastic. Oh, Aya too. Yes, Aya's fantastic also.
Yeah, I was going to say Aya for me is, obviously I love Marty and Ota. I think their relationship's amazing. But when you were talking about Van Jeet, Alan, like I think even the contrast between Van Jeet and Aya is like really interesting. That they both are sort of experiencing the same thing. They're similar in ages. They've experienced the same life experiences, yet they are dealing with it very differently. Even though they're in the same place nominally for the same reason, the way you see Aya deal with it towards the end compared to how Van Jeet is dealing with it, I think is an amazing contrast that sort of is a bit like the Marty and Ota in microcosm almost. I think I love Aya. I think the way we get introduced to her in An Autumn War and the way she develops and matures and really has to question everything. Like the way she's questioning like the thoughts she verbalizes about Ota's plan, about how she feels like she as a Kayan woman is thrown on the rubbish heap essentially and is being replaced. And her worth is according for Ota, her worth is only in the ability to bear and raise children. Like it's just it feels such a damning indictment of the man that I'm actually rooting for his plan. That there's such a conflict there that I just think is amazing.
Yeah, and just from the fact that it opens and she's a physician, rather than being a princess, which is what she should be. But she literally chose the life of, a worker, which, she shouldn't have been. And yeah, you are rooting for. But the thing is, you understand why Ota's doing what he's doing either. Ota's not doing what he's doing because he doesn't value the women. He's doing what he's doing because it's the only way he can see for the continuation of either of them. Like, he doesn't know another way, and he can't have the Galts. Like, he can't ice them out like everyone wants. He can't, because again, he killed Heshai to protect the Galts. And if the Galts are, torched in this, then it was for nothing. And so, like, you understand Aya. I agree with you, Aya. And then you understand Ota. It's like, I agree with you, Ota. Like, and then you understand Mati. It's like, Mati, I get it. Like, I know what you're trying to do. You're going to mess it up. Because we don't, who here trusted that Mati was going to get it right? Nobody. No. Every one of us knew that Mati was going to botch it, just like Ota. We're the same. And I feel bad for feeling that way. Like, I feel bad for not having faith in Mati, but I knew.
It's funny, Adrian, how you were saying that you were comparing Aya and Vanjit, and especially when they found their dots, each of them, and how they handled that. It led to Vanjit was already a little crazy. We could see that, a little possessive, scheming, and once she got that power, she spiraled downward. But Aya treated it completely differently. She was like, I'm a physician. Dealing with this thing is just going to get into my way. So she let it go. And I think that was very impactful, that contrast.
I think Aya is the best of all of them. I think Aya is like, look at Aya was raised by all of them. Aya was she was exposed to Liat and to Ota and to Mati and to Kian. She's the best of all of them. And that she's the only one who could have, got summoned wounded, and then been like, done. This doesn't need to be here. Bye. Fix. Done. Like, no one has time for any of that crap. So Aya's, she's the hero.
I loved Aya's relationship with her father, at least the portrayal of it. It's I feel like that's like the struggle that a lot of kids go through, where like they feel like their parents don't hear them. And on this, it's like huge, different, like on a different scale, because like, okay, we're talking about the future of the nation here. And she's like, I'm going to go do this because I think this is a better idea, and I'm going to value the people around me. And that's also, to a certain extent, like you were saying, Adrian, a mirror of Ota and Mati with Vanjit and Aya, because Ota is the one who classically looks to people around him, while Mati is the one who's definitely a lot more selfish, because it's always about him. It's all about him getting the recognition and fixing his mistakes, versus with Ota, it's about trying to do right by the most amount of people, which is also his leadership. It's an interesting kind of psychology of leadership, because to a certain extent he's trying to save everybody, but he's forgetting everybody, or forgetting a lot of people at the same time, because he's being more utilitarian with his decisions. He's being like, okay, this is how we survive in the long run, and the price we're going to have to pay is kind of the value of these women that can't bear children anymore, which is terrible. But he it's
the only way you can see, and it makes it, I don't know, it's so horrible but understandable at the same time.
Yeah.
I also appreciated Anna's character, because at first I was like, oh man, here we go, another teenager, right? Or young girl, kind of dramatic. But I loved the moment when Ota and Mati are fighting. They finally confront one another, and she's like, hold on one second. Are you telling me that the world is on its knees right now because you two can't get your crap together? Is that what's going on? I loved that part. The
scene, the reunion scene between Ota and Mati was just so good. Like they scream at each other, like Mati being like, "Who are you to tell me? Like I tried to get your help and you rejected me. Like who are you to tell me? Oh, Ota always gets what he wants. Like shut up." Like it's so good because I think Ota really does love Mati. I think he still loves Mati, but he's just so angry at how Mati is endangering everything he is trying to do. So it is one of my favorite relationships in fiction, like right now, because it's just so, I can't think of another example where I was so gripped by the relationship between these characters. And I mean, I also love the Donat at the end, his speech to, the Price of Spring speech. And one scene another scene that made me weep was when he's reading, he finds Ota's, bundle of letters or whatever. And he's like, I'm supposed to burn these. He told me to. And I like that Anna says, if you burn those, I will leave you. Like, this is
incredible.
Like, yeah. And he's like, but he told me to. He's like, he's dead. He doesn't care. Yeah. He didn't care. And this is all you have left. This is all you have left of them. Do not burn those or I will leave you. I'm getting chills. I'm getting weepy thinking about it because it's so good. It's so good. I love Anna. I love the strong woman that Anna grows into. Like she starts out as like, I'm not marrying him. And Donat's like, I guess,
and tries to write poetry.
And then they eventually, like, I like that. I think it's developed. Yes.
Yeah, at that moment, I was like, "Is this a romance novel all of a sudden? And this is going to be, is she going to fall in love with the writer of the poetry?" Hallmark movie much?
Yes. What Anitha said, the scene where Donat tells Ota why it couldn't be Aya.
Yeah, because at that moment, Ota was just like, I've lost. He realizes he's lost touch with his daughter, and that's why he doubts.
And
it
sucks that he's estranged from her, but he's trying to do his best. Like he's doing all he knows how to do.
I was gonna say that's such a sad moment. It's such a sad moment when he can't even trust that it's not her that's done it. Like he has to have Donat tell him that, and that's just I don't know. That for me is it's the epitome of a relationship breakdown. And it's just it's heartbreaking, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so good.
I like that moment because I haven't seen that moment a lot in fiction, but I feel like it's a very relatable moment as well, because a lot of the times you see in everyday life where people don't know their own children because they're so caught up in work. They're so caught up in everything going around their children that they don't see their children anymore. They don't take the time to talk to them. And seeing Ota deal with that and try to walk back from that, at least a little bit in what we saw, was really great.
Yeah, and seeing Ota adrift, kind of, because we see that Ota needs Kian. Like she was just like the rudder that steered him, and he's kind of lost that. And so, he's floundering a bit too, and that's why he writes to her, because like, I don't know what to do. Like you need to, like, I need you here. Like you would know what to tell me to do. And I can't do it. And I just love, like, in Long Price Quartet, the love that Ota has for his wife is so real. And it seems so much real than kind of like the fantasy love, like the love that we normally get in fantasy books. It seems much more real world romance. And it's a weird thing to say because it's hard to describe.
Like it could be your next door neighbor.
Yeah, but you definitely know that Ota loves his wife, loved her so much. And you feel that, as opposed to, a lot of fantasy. And I'm not saying that Abraham's the only person that writes romance well. I do think there is romance written well in other books. It is not between Salma and Grief in Chains. That is not.
No, it is not.
But, there are good examples. So it feels so real. Yes, Anitha, absolutely. Yeah, that's true. You see so much. You see these women in Autumn War. They are running things. They are the glue that was holding everything together. Because the frickin' Kai, they don't know what they're doing. They're out there trying to find it.
I was waiting for her to say something about this.
I'll be honest, it irritated me a little bit because like I was like, wait, was this what happened at Betrayal in Winter? And then like, no, it was 10 years ago. I'm like, what?
I think
there's a short story somewhere.
I don't like to think that Kian was unfaithful to Ota, but maybe Sinja like propositioned her or something. It got really weird and uncomfortable.
Maybe.
That's what
I think it was basically
that's sort of that's sort of how I thought, Alan. Is just there was a weird like Sinja really like
Well, see, Angela and I, while we were reading the series, Angela and I were reading it together, and we were discussing with Alan, and we were convinced that Ota claimed that he couldn't have children, and we didn't see any reason to not believe him at that time. So we were convinced that their children were actually Sinja's, and because Ota couldn't have children. But obviously that didn't happen.
Yeah, so I initially thought that they had slept together, but then as you watch Ota and Kian interact, and then in spring, like it's hard to picture that having happened. You know what I mean? And so I think it just got inappropriate between Kian and Sinja. And, maybe Sinja, like maybe Kian in the moment of weakness, confided in Sinja too much, and their relationship got a little a little too, I guess, close or something. But I choose to not believe they slept together.
Angela doesn't agree with you, apparently.
I mean, I don't think they slept together. It's possible there was an inappropriate moment, especially if Ota's off being, doing what, having to deal with things. But
I feel like your headcanon's very close to mine, Alan.
Yeah.
I think there's a way to get almost inappropriately close to somebody that is not your husband or wife or whatever.
That happens all the time in modern times.
True.
We think that physically cheating is the only way to like cheat on your spouse. It is definitely not.
That's true.
And I think that's kind of like something closer to what might have happened, where Ota was getting distant and she was essentially confiding, like what you said, she was confiding, and she was getting more emotional support from Kinja than she was getting from Ota.
Yeah.
And I've seen that ruin marriages before.
100%. Me too. Same. Absolutely.
And one thing I was going to say, with thinking about what happened 10 years ago, like I think the time jumps in this series. If you told me this series had 14-year time jumps between each of the books, I'd be like, oh, that sounds awful. Like, that's not going to work. That sounds terrible. Like, what? And then you read it, and I think there's such an incredible way of, like we said before, these characters age in a way where you understand that they've grown. It makes sense how they've grown, but they're still fundamentally the same character. And I think that takes so much to do off screen to like advance characters that way. I think in theory, I hate that idea, and in practice, I think it was done incredibly well.
I agree.
I think time jumps are generally done poorly.
Yep.
Yes.
A specific example of what you were talking about, Adrian, I think in Autumn War, we saw with Liat, when Liat came back onto the page, she had come from working with Amat very closely, and you could see in her characterization in Autumn War Amat's influence on her, even though you didn't see any of that over that time jump. Yeah. And I think that was really well done.
Yeah, Liat's maturity was one of the starkest, because we remember how annoying Liat was in freaking Summer, and now she's this competent woman who, she took over for Amat, so she runs the trading house, and she's just fiercely protective of her child, and I love Liat in Autumn War, and I hate her in Summer. Like, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I do not care. I do not care. And I also, who else I don't care about? Moon-faced assassin guy, whoever he is, that dies in winter, thank goodness.
What was his name?
Who cares is the answer. That's his name.
Okay.
He was the Game of Thrones cameo.
Yeah, I hate that guy. That guy's the worst. But yeah, so I agree. He handles the time jumps exceptionally well. Yeah, Oshai, there you go.
Yeah,
It doesn't, and I think most people don't handle time jumps well. Like they don't feel. It feels like the world has remained static, but it's in the future, but nothing's really changed. You know, except I feel like sometimes they just do it because they didn't want a pair to be together, but they wrote them together at the end, and they're like, crap, I gotta break them up. Time jump. We see this in TV all the time when there's time jump in series.
I know your mother.
Yes. So, oh my gosh, just stop. Just don't even start. But yeah, and so I think he does it fantastic. I mean, Angela's right. That everything feels like it has that it has the age on it. But he doesn't belabor the point. He talks about what's changed in just a couple sentences, and he drops little breadcrumbs of that as he goes. I think it's fantastic.
And that's the world building that I really love about this series is there doesn't feel like there's any info dumps. It feels like it's naturally scattered throughout people talking, throughout what you see through people's eyes. It's just scattered all over the place in a natural way versus having, oh, hi, here's a prologue that tells you everything that's happened in the last 10 years.
Oh yeah. I felt drowning when I first started Shadow and Summer until I kind of caught on to everything. He stops. There are fewer poses as we go on because we know that that's what they're doing. So it still happens, just not as often as in Summer. Like he sets it up, and then once we're accustomed, doesn't need to draw our attention to it anymore. But like at the beginning, like you see the name Ota and Dai Kavo and what they're doing. I'm just like, when I started Shadow and Summer, I'm like, what is this book? And once you're accustomed, it's fine.
And all the prefixes they use on the end of everything.
I literally took notes when I first did that on what cha means and whatever the other ones are, Kavo, and I literally took notes when I first took it so I could figure out what those mean.
Yeah, and that stuff kind of drew me in Shadow and Summer because I don't know, I'm a world building guy, so I see every world as a mystery. So I'm just like, ooh, what's this thing? Ooh, another thing.
To talk again about time jumps and to talk about a character we've not mentioned yet, who isn't necessarily a big focus in Price of Spring, but I really like the way that Balthazar Geis has changed and how his new role in Price of Spring. And I know Alan loves Balthazar Geis anyway, but like the way he and his Ota's relationship is super interesting as well. I think there are so many characters that we see and don't actually get that much page time, yet I feel are very real, and then it still makes sense. In the time jump, a lot's happened, and he's almost done a 180 in terms of whether he's our antagonist or one of the, whether he's a good guy or whatever. But it's just, I think that's a very interesting thing to have happened by halfway through Price of Spring, where he is with Ota in that relationship. Is just, I think, again, done very well, and it makes sense. But we've not actually seen that much of it yet. It still works.
Yeah, I mean, he's gone from genocidal conqueror but I mean, he did what he wanted. Like, Balasar wasn't evil. Balasar had one goal, and he accomplished it.
Succeeded.
He removed the Ondat, and he killed a whole lot of people. But now he is trying to, like, he doesn't hate the Kayate. He doesn't hate the Kayem. He just needed Ondat gone because no one should have gods in their pockets.
In their pockets, yeah.
Yeah. And so now that that's done, he is doing what he can. He is going to be the diplomat to try to repair the relationships going forward. And I think it is very bizarre because he killed.
I agree, Angela.
Obviously, Adon gets way more page time than freaking Balance. No one was comparing them. But now he has to be the peacemaker. And so, I like. There's not a comparison. No one was comparing Ballaster to.
They're comparing antagonists and their redemption arcs.
I was about to say both with redemption arcs. Yeah, interesting.
Hi, Kate.
Okay.
Hi.
Whatever.
I think
Again, no one was comparing them. Yes, because she's the main character. Geist isn't. They're not comparable.
this is the most non-rant rant ever.
I don't understand. Like, I don't understand.
Oh man.
It's like saying chairs are better than clouds. What? Like, they're not comparable. They're not the same.
This is very reminiscent of our Voxer chat when we were reading the book.
What's happening?
Mm.
I don't know why that needed to be said. I agree.
I think Abraham made an interesting choice with Balasar Geist. I think if you're comparing this to a more contemporary, more, I guess, forced, dramatically forced is what I'm looking for, type of fantasy book, Balasar Geist would have been there at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And he would have been all for killing both Ia and Venjit. But he wasn't, because that just wasn't where he was going to be. And do we get to see much of Balasar Geist's like reaction
And
to all this stuff?
That was one of my things, is because I like Geist so much. And Abraham knows he's rendered irrelevant. Geist doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
Like, Geist's big thing was stopping the Undot. Like, he is, I mean, we do see what he's doing, but I agree. Like, I also wanted him more involved, because, you know, it's how you are. You're attached to characters. You're like, this is the narrative structure. And so I was bummed that he wasn't in it more. But I mean, again, I understand. He's not part of it anymore. We've moved past him. He's done what he went out to do. It's time to, you know, see everybody else. So I agree.
But at the same time, the existence of Venjit and Ia says that he hasn't done everything he wants to.
Yeah.
And also the existence of them, I think it's also possible that in the future of this place, somebody could stumble upon summoning the Undot again. Because, I don't know, I feel like that's just part of the nature of magic in a lot of places, where just like magic appears.
Mm.
Yeah, and I think the women's language is so less explored that actually, the whole point is it's getting harder and harder to summon the Undot, but actually, I think there's a lot more room for it now after what Marty set up.
Oh, that baby was so creepy.
What?
Creepy.
Oh,
Any other thoughts on Venjit and the baby?
Creepy as heck. Venjit.
Could have been a horror novel.
It's literally, it's her desire to have children made manifest. Like, it's the physical embodiment of her desire to have kids. But it's the Undot, which is enraged to be imprisoned, as they all are. You know, and so that the baby that has the cold, hateful eyes, that he describes it, I think, it's just so flipping weird.
yeah.
Like, it's not going to grow up, right? Like, the Undot don't grow. It's a baby.
It's going to stay that way.
That's
And
terrifying.
not only her need to have a baby, but to have a family, which
Oh,
is why
make Mati daddy.
oh man. So as soon as
So
she
creepy.
started kind of isolating him from the rest of the group, I was like, oh, this is not good.
Yeah, and then, you know, she does exactly what, of course, she was going to do. Well, boom. Guess what? They're all blind. This is blind. Every fish, every bird, blind, blind, blind. What are you going to do about it, Mati? Blind. Nothing. Until Aya's like, hey, dead. Katrina.
Lord of the Rings music came on. I'm sorry.
Just great music. I think it's also interesting to contrast clarity of sight with Stone Made Soft, because in Stone Made Soft was he had things built into him. He had, for the lack of a better term, controls, to use an accounting thing, that prevented him from escaping. That he still tried to use to advantage, because you had the fantasy chess.
Yeah.
You had he's really dumb. You had those things built into him on purpose. Whereas with Venjit and clarity of sight, they weren't necessarily built into that. And that was kind of, I guess, Mati's oversight in both Autumn War and Price of Spring.
Yeah.
Because he thought he had something in Autumn War. He's like, oh, I'm not going to have to pay the price. But really, that wasn't the thing that he should have been looking against. He should have been trying to build something. He should have been using Stonemaid's Off as like a template for like, how can I make sure that this doesn't bite me and everybody on a indirect level versus a direct level? Because the Undot are time and time again shown to be manipulative in their own ways, to not directly affect the poet if they are bound, but to indirectly affect the poet and everybody around them in order to get free, which is another just a thing that Mati just ignored because he's stupid.
Whereas I feel like the only thing that was built into Clarity of Sight was Ranjit's rage, like just rage to 11. Like that was what was built into Clarity of Sight. Not control, not thought, just pure unadulterated rage, which I also kind of understand. Like obviously that's not the way to deal with it, but I kind of understand that rage from Ranjit's point of view. Yeah.
But it's just like, what are you doing, Mati? You know that the Galts killed her family. Like, what are you doing? Sterile literally told you why you screwed it up, because you had vengeance in your heart. And he just wants to make it better. He's the guy's like, this time it'll be fine. It'll be fine this time.
If you're trying to build a pot, if you're trying to make a pot, and the only clay you have is faulty clay. I don't know what that looks like because I'm not a pot maker person. But if you only have bad clay, but you still need a pot, you're still going to use that bad clay.
Well, the problem is, though,
not if I wanted to hold
that the theme of parenthood in this series is very prevalent. And that's really why Mati made the decision he did, because of his relationship with Aya. He could have put his trust in Aya first, but he decided to use Vanjit as a test dummy to make sure everything was safe before giving the responsibility to Aya.
Because he didn't want Aya to die.
Right. Yeah. So his relationship with Aya, I thought, was very interesting.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, I think that might be one of the reasons this series hit me so hard, was that I'm a relatively new dad. And I think that that pitching of parenthood, and even not necessarily biological parenthood, but even just like being a father figure, like having some responsibility for the younger generation. Like you see that with Mati, you see that with with Ota, you see that all over the place. So even in Summer, you see sort of that kind of weird relationship Heshai has with Mati as well. And you do just see this kind of it does touch on parenthood a lot, both biological and sort of adoptive. And I think it's a big theme, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, just the legacy that people leave behind.
And at the beginning of this book, the fact that the youngest people in all of the Kayam were 16, there were no children anymore. So children kind of became an economic commodity.
Yeah.
Which was interesting.
Yeah.
Yep. And he didn't forget that when the baby popped up and people in the whatchamacadoodle were like, oh my gosh, you have a baby. You started worshiping Clarity of Sight. It was kind of weird.
Anita's right. Like Aya says, Mati sees things how he wants them to be. And you know what? This is one of the things that, I understand Mati. Like I also, see things how they should be rather than how they actually are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, self-deception is one of those tools that we have, and we use to our own detriment constantly.
Yeah, it's just fantastic.
It was nice to see self-deception used in a way that felt realistic, whereas I think self-deception is honestly a lot of the times used as part of the miscommunication trope, which is just frustrating.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So,
and he latched onto that right to the end. Right until that last scene, nothing changed. And I thought it was an interesting choice that Mati was not mentioned at all in the epilogue. You don't know, you understand what happened to him, but you don't know for sure how or when. He's just not mentioned at all.
I would wager that Ota, they just kept him under like house arrest. He's not in a jail. He's in like, I mean, he's in like I guess a cell but he's in the palace. Like,
Yeah.
I pictured him in his own like bedroom.
yeah,
Just
so
locked
I
in.
think they probably house arrested him, but lived
Yeah.
comfortably until he passed because he was going to die anyway because of his bad heart.
Honored guest.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Abraham did a great job writing aging in this book. My bones hurt reading some of the descriptions he used.
Yeah, they're old and freaking he just does it so well. Ota being like, I am too old for this stuff. I can't do it.
What, his hands? Wasn't there something with his hands all the time?
And then, they found him. They go and get them. They found him dead in his chair, right? Does Adon?
Adon does, yeah.
Yeah,
I loved that part.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so, and then again, I'm getting teary eyed. The not speech, and him finding the letters, and it's just amazing.
And Adon telling him after he had passed that no one could have done as well as he did.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I reread that part last night and I was tearing up.
Yeah, like Ota did absolutely everything he knew how to do. And he wasn't always right, but he did his best.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh no.
Adrian died.
Adrian, come back.
Adrian is
Come back,
Monty
Adrian.
in this.
Yeah, I really did like what you were talking. The Anna telling Donat not to burn the letters, and just it was so good. Like just the letters in general. As someone who, as being in relationships, I've written letters to people that I've been in relationships before. That hurts a lot. Just because knowing that experience and knowing like wanting to talk to somebody that's maybe long distance.
Yeah.
And just writing down your thoughts for them to read later. And then knowing they're not going to read them, that's like a whole nother level of pain that I didn't know somebody could invoke in writing to me.
I was so upset when I came across that first letter in this book. Oh, man.
When you find out Keon's dead?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was... No. I mean, do you think... So if Keon had been alive, do you guys think that any of this... Like, what would have changed about this book if Keon...
Aya would not be estranged. There's no way. She would not have allowed Aya to be estranged. There's no way.
Ota probably would have talked to the daughters earlier than he did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think had Keon been there might have been some kind of, I don't know. Well, no, because in war he tells Mati to run, but don't tell me where you're going, because when Keon asks me where you are, I don't want to know. So I'm not sure Keon could have, but I mean, I think without Aya, I don't think Mati would have been successful.
Correct.
So I think Mati would have just gone on in obscurity, screwing this up, and then he'd have died from whatever condition he had. So I think that's my prediction.
Yeah. So I agree with that. So it would have ended up worse if Keon was alive, because he still might have succeeded with Banji.
Maybe, but I think he only succeeded because Aya helped him, like with the grammar, didn't she? Didn't she help him? I think if she hadn't have been there, maybe he would have gotten it eventually. But I think he'd have, pushed Vanji to do it too soon. She'd have died.
Clarity of sight probably would have been even creepier.
Stupid clarity of sight. Stupid.
Do y'all think that Keon would have like Keon at some point would have approved of Ia working and trying to bring back first of all, I think Keon would have understood where Ia was coming from and understood where her heart was.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Keon would have, at some point after resolving things with Mati, of course, spurred her on to summon an Ondot and fix everything?
No. No, I don't think I don't think Keon would have risked her daughter.
Yeah. I agree with that. Also, I just realized as you guys were talking that Keon died while the Khayyam was in the state that it was in. Mm-hmm. That's sad. I'm sad all over again. But it's a great series. Everyone read it.
Yeah. It's
Look,
pain, but it's beautiful.
There's no one watching who hasn't read it. Like
That's true.
we're not like turning people off from reading it. Like why on earth would you go in and listen to this if you hadn't read it?
I'm getting excited to reread it.
Oh
Same,
yeah, absolutely.
Same. I want to reread it so bad. It's just so good. It's so good. It's definitely one in my top series for sure.
Yeah.
And I am pumped to read Age of Ash. I hope it's good.
Are you going to try to read that like directly when it comes out, Alan?
I'm trying to get an arc.
Ooh,
Would be good.
That'd be nice.
They told me that they don't have them yet. It's too early. But
You must have sold enough copies of LPQ to get an arc.
I'm on Orbit's like reviewer list or whatever now. So they send me a newsletter that says, "Hey, these are coming out. If you want an arc, you should click here to request it or whatever." So I'm hoping that the one that comes out in November will have it on there, and I can be like, I need to read Age of Ash, please.
Yeah.
The thing is, I don't like reading digital arcs, so unless it's only digital, I'm not gonna. I don't like reading books on digital at all. So I don't have a Kindle, so I have to read them on, my cell phone. So I prefer to not read digital. So if it's a digital only one, I'll be like, well, I guess I'll read it out in February. Yeah. But I do want to read it. If I don't get an arc, I will absolutely read it when it comes out. Put it on my
I have to pre-order it.
With the rest of us, perhaps, yeah.
Yeah. And it comes out on 15th, I think, mid-February. I'll buy it myself for a Valentine's Day present.
Nice.
Yeah. I think I think I might go for an arc for that. I haven't ever done any arcs actually. So
regardless, we should have a discussion in February. I'll have people who read Age of Ash in February. We'll just have people on and we can talk about it. Preferably you guys and people who have read Long Press Quartet so we can compare.
So. And make predictions.
Yeah. By then I should have read the first. I think I'm starting Dagger and Coin in January. I think I decided to start it. I
am desperately trying to read the rest of them, but bloody heck if I can find any free. You know how I'm not going to get it done? Reading 2 books a month, which is what I'm in my second book. I'm only in my second book for the month. Like I just had to bow out of the freaking last. I have read every John Gwynne book with these people and been part of the discussion, but I haven't even started Time of Courage, and they have a freaking show tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm like, sorry guys, haven't even started it. Can't. How? I'm in the middle of my second book this month. Pathetic, Beldo. So I don't know.
Alan, I'm currently about 2/3 of the way through the book I started in October. The only reason I've got any books through is because of audiobooks. The only reason I've read anything is audiobooks.
That's true. I did read Excalibur in audiobook, and I'm most of the way through My Cousin Rachel solely from my commute.
So, yeah.
No. Okay, I get it. Maybe it's just bad for everybody. Did you finish Mantis, Adrian?
I did on audio. Yeah, I finished it yesterday on audio.
Cool. I'm about 2/3 through with it. I like it a lot. So.
I am 100 pages into it.
Nice.
I'm done. I think that was the second or third book I read this month.
I hope you're done because we have to talk about it like next week.
Yes, I am done. I do have to read like 50 more pages in Gulag before tomorrow, though, which is great. So that's more depression.
All right.
Talking about Abraham, I am hopefully Dagger and Coin starting next month.
Y'all are all going to pass me on Dagger and Coin. Like I cannot. I hate my life.
You got this, Alan.
Buddy reads at the end of you, Alan.
I'm not starting it until next year.
Kind of flip and catch up on the crap that I have to read. Like I have no problem reading Shadow of the Apt. Like I am happy to keep reading that. I love it. I'm just so invested in everything going on. And then it just takes me a long time. Like October was too flipping busy, and I had company, which is great, but I did nothing. And work is just really busy, and I have
Assassin's Creed and
stuff for work. Well, all I want to do now is read. But guess what I have tomorrow? Flipping Jeopardy. Guess who's written no questions? Me. So I'm gonna spend the rest of my afternoon. Yeah, exactly. I need to finish Tagana and read Hero of Ages. And
that's next month.
I know.
Next month is Hero of Ages.
I know, but I mean, I am hoping in December, I'm at least Do I have anything in December? No, it's just rollovers. So cool. In December, I'm hoping at least to read at least book 2, King's Blood. Did I put books on a TBR for December? Why would I do that? Why would I? Oh, I'm reading Stupid the Hammer with Stupid Gregory.
Oh, Gregory.
And then I'm reading Stupid Crown Conspiracy with
Gosh, darn
Stupid
it.
Patrons. I'm just kidding, not Stupid Patrons. Thank you for the support. So, well, that's not bad. Crown Conspiracy is short, the first Ryria. And The Hammer is, if I can, both Parker books that I've read have taken me 2 weeks to read. I think it's just a coincidence, but I'm hoping it doesn't take me 2 weeks to read this Parker. But without those, I will definitely read. I'm definitely going to read King's Blood, so I can at least get through book 2. We'll see. I just need to not do anything else. I just need to quit my job. Quitting my job. You heard it here first. I'm not going in tomorrow. Sorry. Done.
Oh, if you can get yourself like another 100,000 subscribers, you could break
Goodbye,
that
children.
If only. I don't know how to grow a channel, Adrian. In fact, you know how you don't grow a channel? Don't talk about Dune, First Law, or Eye of the World right now. That's how you do it. So I am a master. If anybody wants to know how to not grow your channel, come talk to Alan. Don't talk about anything popular while it's popular.
Sir, I mean, what you're doing says otherwise, but it's fine.
I mean, no, I hear you. It's just, it's steady. It's steady, which is good. I'm certainly not complaining. It's just like you feel like you're on the outside because there's so much going on, and it's fine because I certainly don't have time to be involved in any of it because, as I said, I've read one book.
Just wait till somebody adapts Long Price Quartet, Alan.
One
and
day
you're going to be, you're in on the ground floon.
One day, someone's going to adapt Long Price Quartet or like Shadows of the Apt or
Senlin.
And then I'll have gotten ahead of that curve. Great coats. One day.
Knows it.
Heard it here first. I'm going to adapt Long Price Quartet. That would be interesting.
It would be very. It'd have to be the BBC.
It'd be difficult.
It's too boring. It has to be the BBC.
Yeah, Hollywood would screw it up and try to make it more action-packed. Like the assassin scene in Shadow of Summer, they'd have to make that 30 minutes of the movie.
The Ondot would be weaponized, absolutely.
It would. They'd make them martial artists or something weird.
What they would probably do is they would mix Autumn War in with the first season somehow. So no, it has to be the BBC and just treat it like it's freaking Pride and Prejudice. Just have it be an hour-long episode of
people talking. Yes, that's actually probably the part that I would love most.
The poses would be really interesting. Yeah.
See, I always pictured them just like sign language.
Basically,
not so much full body poses.
That's not what pose means to me. So.
Well, listen.
I think some of them, it depended on what they were doing. Like if they were standing up, I would think it'd be like something like,
Well, they always say like their hands were starting to go into a pose and then they stop or something like that. So that's just why I picture that.
I think the nuance, I pictured
probably more subtle than what I was doing.
A little bit.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a good series. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you very much, everybody, for coming on and talking about this amazing book.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And thank you, everybody, for watching. And if you're watching afterwards, thank you so much. I will have everybody linked down below. I think I forgot to actually put the links here this time, but they will be linked down below. And I will put up some other book things in there as well. So check out the description if you want to subscribe to all these wonderful people, and then follow Katrina on Instagram because she's a bookstagrammer. That's the word.
We're keeping it alive, and it's about to get another boost next month because Philip Chase and Andrew Wizardly Reads and some other people as well. Joanna, maybe not. I don't know. There's some other people who are picking it up in November, and so they will continue to
keep this hype train going.
Yeah, I think right. Keep it from dying.
Yep. Yeah. Well, have a wonderful rest of your Saturday, everybody. Get some rest because that's important. Goodbye.
Bye.